Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Miles Beyond the Page. I'm your host, Michelle Miles, and this is the show where we dive deep into the world of writing and publishing. Each week, I sit down with authors from every stage of their journey, whether they're just starting out or building their relationship or seasoned pros with stories to tell. Today, I'm excited to host Tracey Devlyn. Hi, Tracy.
Hey, how you doing, Michelle?
Hi. Good. Thanks for joining me today.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much for the invite.
Tracy is a USA Today bestselling author of contemporary and historical romance, which often contains elements of mystery, romance, and environmental crime. Today, we're going to talk about your most recent release, Endgame. So, can you tell us a little bit about that and if it's part of a series and all of that?
Yeah, so Endgame is actually the very last book in a 30 book long series. It is about, let me see if I could do this. It's been a little while since I've thought about it. Endgame is about, I've got an FBI agent. His name is Ash Blackwell, and he's assigned to investigate a lobbyist for her role in a possible pay to play scheme. There was a politician who was murdered right in front of her, and so he's trying to figure out if she had a part in that or if it was she's very innocent. So there's what's fun about it, I hope for readers, is that Ash and Kayla, who is the lobbyist, they showed up in the first book and of the Blackwell series. So this is part of the Steel Ridge Blackwell
Mhm.
series. And so they both showed up in the first book, and the 5 book series has been building up to Endgame where they get together. And so he's not a big fan of hers, lobbyists, kind of thing. Not real thrilled with what she does, but she's always had a crush on him,
Mm.
something more than a crush on him. So yeah, we get to play with that little dynamic a bit too. And yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, it sounds really fun. Is this the series that you collaborate with Adrian Giordano on, or is that a different series?
It is. So we started collaborating, Adrian Giordano and Kelsey Browning. We were critique partners for many years, and then we decided in 2015-ish
Mm.
to collaborate, and we built this series. We just call it Steel Ridge. It takes place in a small town in western North Carolina called Steel Ridge, North Carolina. And so there are distinct kind of like sub-series, I guess, off of it,
Yeah.
pathways you can get to it. So the first series is called The Steels, and it follows the Steel family. And then the second series is called The Kingstons. And
Mm.
then we have the Blackwells. And then we also have a group of fun short stories that highlight the Steels and the Kingstons in what we call the Christmas capers, which were just a lot of fun to write. So,
Yeah, those sound really great. And I talked to Adrian before. She was on the previous season of the podcast. So
okay.
she did talk a little bit about the Blackwells. So what inspired you guys to kind of get together and write these novels?
I think we were all in a weird place in our traditional publishing path. I originally wrote historical romances with a very strong dab of suspense, almost on the thriller side of it. And historical romance went through one of its many ebbs in about that 2012, 2013 time frame. And my agent just couldn't sell a series, couldn't sell my series. So yeah, and Kelsey and Adrian, I think, were going through some pains of their own, and we're just like, you know what? Why don't we try and collaborate and build something on our own? I don't recall, because it's been so long now, it's been almost 10 years now, if there was a specific thing that sparked it. We saw somebody else collaborating on something and we're like,
Mm.
oh, we should try that. That is gone from memory at this point. But we got together in a little bungalow in Asheville, North Carolina, and we plotted out the first, oh, I can't remember, maybe the first at least 2 or 3 books.
Yeah.
And we went off and wrote them, and yeah, it was great fun.
Oh, can you hear me? I think my thing just
Yes.
beeped. Okay, for some reason I beeped. I don't know why. Uh, I'll edit that out. That's really interesting, and I find romantic suspense to be a fascinating genre because I don't write it. I can't write it. I've tried. My brain doesn't work that way. When you are research writing these books, what sort of research do you do for these types of thrillers slash romantic suspense books?
I think for me, most of my research is geared towards each of their professions. And then in some cases, it might be whatever the kind of the high stakes or whatever the major plot point is on one of my books called Loving Deep. I talked about the Red Wolves plight in North Carolina here. And so I had to do a lot of research on red wolves and what the government was doing to try and save this species and things like that. I had trophy hunters. I had to figure out a little bit about trophy hunters. It really depends on the story.
Mm.
It's like lobbyists. I know about lobbyists, but I really don't know about
Yeah,
lobbyists. I had to learn a lot about lobbyists, things like that for Endgame.
yeah,
And yeah, so just it really varies, I think, from book to book.
yeah. I bet you know a lot about lobbyists now.
Oh yeah, I know more than I care to know, honestly.
That's the fun thing about research too.
Yeah.
You have we talked about your backlist. It's very impressive. Let's talk about your writing journey. So, what was there a specific moment or event that made you want to start writing and what led you down that path?
I think it was a series of things, maybe not one specific moment. I wasn't one of those authors who knew that they wanted to be a writer from the crib. That wasn't my path. In looking back, I can remember that anytime I had to do some type of creative writing, my teachers would give me a little pat on the back and nice job type of thing. I was always fascinated with typewriters at the time because I'm from that era.
Yeah.
And I loved books, but there were no books in my home. So I
Mm,
didn't come from a family of readers. And I always felt like in the libraries that I didn't know what to do with them. And I never really got that mentoring from this lovely library like you hear about from a lot of folks. I didn't have that lovely librarian to help me figure out things to read. And so I'd find myself just looking through big old picture books of Africa and wildlife and things like that, which I love. And so there was just a series of things like that. When I look back, I can see the path building.
hmm
But I took what I now, this was many years ago, what I then called a mental health day from work. And I was hanging out watching morning TV, and there was this show called Jenny Jones. I don't know if that's a familiar
Oh,
one to
yes.
you. Okay. I
Yes.
was watching Jenny Jones, and Jenny Jones was interviewing a group of romance novelists. And I just found the whole discussion fascinating. And so soon after, I ran to Borders when Borders was a thing, and ran to Borders, and I got two or three of their books. Hooked, right?
Yeah.
I have not stopped reading from that moment on. And there was a time, maybe about 4 or 5 years later, where I had a series of books where the endings just didn't work for me. They just did not work for me. And I would find myself laying in bed, just going through how I would have done it differently. And I don't recall any longer how I got from that to going into a bookstore and looking for a book that would teach me how to write a novel. But I did. That's what I did. I went into my favorite Borders and went to their craft section and found a book that taught you how to write a romance novel.
That's awesome.
And so from that point forward, I started writing. I read it from cover to cover, started writing, and just haven't stopped.
That's awesome. I love that story. So how do you feel like your writing has evolved since you started?
The shorter answer to that might be how has it not evolved? I feel like every part of my writing has evolved since I
Yeah.
started that first book. I wrote that first book completely from what they call a pantser. I knew nothing about plotting. I just started writing and I just kept writing and kept writing and writing. I had no idea where it was going. I didn't know what I was doing. Nothing, absolutely nothing. And to where I'm at now, and I think every book that I've written, I have drafted it in a different way because I'm
Hmm.
constantly trying new things, learning new techniques. And so I think it's evolved a lot.
Yeah. I think we have to as a writer too, just
Yeah,
to learn and grow and keep going.
yeah. I think I would be concerned when it stopped evolving.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that would be a very scary moment for me. Maybe I need to hang up my pen at this point.
Yeah. So let's talk about your writing process a little bit. Can you walk us through what your process is from initial idea to final draft?
Right now, because as I mentioned, things have changed quite a bit. Right now, I see the part of the is that I was writing in a collaborative environment and we would plot out the whole series in a sense. We would know
Hmm.
who each hero and heroine were for each book. We might not know exactly what the plots were for those, but we would know who they were because we had to intermingle them into our books. And I guess if I were to start a brand new book now, what I started doing in the last couple of books is idea, whether that's about a profession I want to write about, whether it's about something going on in the world that's piqued my interest,
Hmm.
I would like to write about and explore. So I do some research on that, and then at some point I just start. I know I got to start writing. I got to put the research away. I got to start writing, and then one of a craft book that I really love at this point in my career that's really helped me is called Save the Cat Writes a Novel by Jessica Brody. So
Oh, okay. Yeah.
she has taken the structure of a story and she has put it in terms that my little pea brain can understand. The Hero's Journey, Writer's Journey by Vogler, never could get that one. I never could get what he was talking about. But Jessica Brody, she had a way of writing things and talking about things and story structure that that just clicked with me, right?
Yeah.
Just clicked. And so I use that as a little bit of a guidepost as I'm trying to figure out elements of the story. So I get a little bit of a highway going for
Hmm.
myself, a little bit of a highway going, and then I start writing. And then after I get into the writing, I'll look ahead maybe 2 or 3 chapters just so I can see a little bit in front of me and move towards that point. And then I just keep moving that point until I get to the end. And sometimes if I get stuck,
Yeah.
this goes back to a workshop that I attended many years ago that Susan Elizabeth Phillips, who's a romance author, and she talked about sometimes she would get stuck in a story and she would grab her yellow legal pad and then just start writing out free flow, writing out ideas and possibilities and things like that. And so I started doing that and that's very helpful. But taking it from paper to writing it on a computer, it's oh my wrist was getting so sore.
I've done that. It does.
So I found this great little tablet called a Remarkable. I don't know if you're
Oh,
familiar
I've
with
seen
it.
that. Yes. Yes.
So
It's
that
digital, right?
it is digital.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I've got it. Yeah, here we go. So this guy, right?
Yes. I've seen.
So it's great because you get a pen and you can write on it and it feels like pen to paper. It feels like you're
Yeah.
actually writing pen to paper. And what it'll do is it'll take my handwriting and it will convert it to
Yeah.
text. And
Yeah. So that
so
really works,
it's
huh?
it's been wonderful and it has ways where you can brainstorm in there and you can do like little pictographs and things like that if you're a visual learner that way. So yeah, that's been super helpful creatively
Yeah.
for me.
It's funny that you say the hero's journey didn't work for you because that's what I use.
Oh, yeah, see?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
See,
everybody's
but
different.
yeah, I
Absolutely.
think you just have to find what, like you said, what clicks with you. And that really worked
Hmm.
for me. And I understood it. I'm like, oh, I get it now. So
Yeah.
when I read
Well,
that,
you write fantasy,
I
right?
do. Yes.
See?
Yeah.
Yeah, he uses a lot of those kind of those terms that just
Yeah.
made no I guess there was something about an elixir and
Yeah.
I don't know. It was I think I know this will sound crazy, but I think I had to use my imagination too much to figure out what the heck he was talking about. So anyway.
Yeah, I love the hero's journey, and I read that Christopher Vogler book a lot. Vogler, I can't even say it. I read that a long time ago, and that was when what really started. I was at the point where I was going to quit, and then
Oh,
this was that really spurred me on to keep going. So I
that's
love
great.
that. Yeah, and
Yeah, no, that's wonderful.
I'm like you too. When I get stuck, what I will do is print out my manuscript and start reading from the front on, just to see what have I missed, what can I do?
Yeah.
Where can I add some layers? And yeah, so that really helps me too. And I've done the handwriting thing too. I like this remarkable thing, so I might look
Yeah,
into that.
I like it. I like it. This is the second kind of version of it, and it's just wonderful. The only thing that it doesn't have is like a backlight, so
Oh,
doing it at nighttime can be a challenge if you don't have a light. But anyway, other
yeah.
than that, it's been great. I was going to ask you, you were talking about you get stuck and you print it out, go
Mm.
back and you read it. Do you have a particular place in your manuscript where you tend to get stuck over and over, like a word count kind of thing?
It's usually in the middle. My books vary in length. I've written anywhere from 40,000 words to 100,000 words. So it's usually in that when I'm at that peak where of the story that I'm like, I don't know what happens.
Yeah.
And they call it the sagging middle too. So that's when I will take it, print it out, and start reading it. And oh, and then it will start generating ideas. It's like, oh, I know where I want to go now. I know what happens next. And that really helps me to
Yeah.
figure things out. So
Yeah, I always get stuck right around that 25,000 word mark. I don't know
yeah,
what it is.
I find the first 10,000 words are the absolute hardest for me. I don't know why.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
beginning, because I want to get it right.
Mm,
It's really hard for me. But once I get past that, I'm usually okay until I get hit like that middle portion of the book. When I was writing my urban fantasy, they're super long books. And so right around the 50,000 word mark, I'd be like, I don't know what happens anymore.
yeah.
I feel like I'm doing the same thing over and over again. So that would really help me read. And plus, it was a long series, and I just felt like I was doing the same things over and over again. So I was really trying to, what can I do different? And was I trying to have to make myself think outside the box or
Yeah.
outside of the normal thing that the first thing that came to mind, what I need to come up with something else. So it was a long process.
Yeah, yeah.
Is there a specific routine or ritual that helps you get into the writing zone?
Let me think here. When I'm actually drafting a novel, I tend to like to sit in my comfy chair over there in front of the window and have a little cup of tea. And sometimes a lot of times I'll have a candle going. I
Mm.
have a couple of favorite scents right now. And other than that's about all it takes. And I really don't have to have that. It's just a
Yeah.
comfort. It's just a
Yeah.
fun thing to do to go through that process. But I've gotten to the point where I can write pretty much anywhere as long as I can have a modicum of silence. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be complete silence, but I have to be able to focus
Right.
on the writing.
Yeah.
Editing, I can do anywhere, anytime. Doesn't matter what's around me with editing, but the writing, I have to have more focus.
Yeah, I feel that too. Do you have a certain like word count or hours or pages or whatever? Do you have a goal that you try to stick to every day when you're writing?
I try to do 1,000 words a day. That feels like a solid amount, but I tend to be a slow writer. It's something I cannot fix about myself. I cannot fix the speed thing. And so it ends up being maybe about 700, 750. If I can get there, I feel like I've put in a good
Mhm.
day's work with new words.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
find people that write 10,000 words a day or more. I'm like, how? I would be
I don't
dead.
know. I don't
My
know. I
my
don't
brain
know.
gives out. After about
Yeah.
1,500, 2,000 words, I'm like, yeah, I'm done.
Yeah, I would love to be able to.
Me too.
1,500 would be great. I think that would be a really good one. But I try for 1,000. That's what my goal is and I hit it. There's days that I hit it, but more so around 750.
Yeah, I'm the same way, but I try to do 2,000. I'm trying to finish a book by the end of the month. So I'm like 2,000 words a day is my goal. I didn't make it last night because my brain just gave out. So
Yeah, yeah, it does. That's one of the surprising things about writing is that truly creative time that you put towards crafting your book, it is so exhausting
Yeah,
mentally,
it really
so
is.
exhausting mentally.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you were traditionally published. So can you tell us a little bit about your publishing journey as far as moving from traditional to indie publishing?
Yeah, so the first three books, again, they were historical, romance, suspensey. Those were published by Source Books.
Mm,
And then after that, I ventured into the indie and I changed it from historical to contemporary romantic suspense. And I've been published in that since 2016, I guess. So I've been
hmm.
publishing contemporary romantic suspense indie-wise since 2016. And so, yeah, I loved historical. I might still even be writing it had my agent been able to sell a proposal at the time.
Yeah.
I really loved historical romance, but I very much enjoy the contemporary side too. So in a way, it was good because it got me out of my box. Like, try
Yeah.
something new, Tracy. You can
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
So that was good because there's certain contemporary issues that I would like to dive into. As you mentioned in my bio there a little bit, I'm a conservationist. I know that can be a bad term for a lot of folks, but I really love the environment. I think we're all connected, and
Yeah.
there's just issues there that I really would like to explore and dive into, and how best to do it with a suspense novel with
Yeah.
some romance in there. And so, yeah, I love the contemporary part of it too.
It's like the best of all worlds. All right.
It is.
You get to
Yeah.
do all of the things that you love.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
What do you think is the biggest hurdle that you encountered during your publishing process, especially the indie world?
I think it's all a big hurdle. I gotta be honest.
It is. It
I
is.
think a lot, it's all a big hurdle. I think one of the things professionally that maybe had affected us from a business sense on the indie side was Kindle Unlimited. I think
Mm,
that was a big hurdle that we never truly recovered from.
yeah. Yeah. It was a big
Yeah.
disruptor in our
Yes.
world. And it's made readers just really want the cheap books. It's really hard to it's really hard to sell your book for 99 cents when you've put in hours upon hours into
Mm,
not only the writing, but the production of it too. It's not just the
yeah.
writing, it's the marketing, it's the
Right.
formatting, it's everything. Yeah, I think that has been a very big disruptor in our
Hmm.
world.
Yeah.
What was the most unexpected lesson you learned in your publishing journey?
I don't know why this would be unexpected, but it was. I found it pleasantly surprising how supportive other authors are of other authors.
Yes.
In the romance community, I found it there. I'm very involved in like the suspense thriller community now too. It's there. And I guess there are people who are very competitive out there
Yeah.
who maybe don't want you to be as successful as you are or whatever. But I've not come across them.
Yeah.
And I've come across many people in this business over the past umpteen years here. But I have never heard anyone in my orb or felt it from somebody towards me about that kind of ill will.
Yeah.
It's always people helping people.
Yeah.
So I love it.
I think that's one of the things I love the most about being a romance writer is that we all help each other and we want to see each
Yeah,
other succeed. It's a great
it
genre.
is.
It's the best genre.
It is.
How important do you think it is for authors to build and maintain a personal brand?
I think it's important. There's always outliers, right? There's
Yeah.
always those authors who write in many different genres, and maybe it's their voice that's carrying from genre to genre that keeps them afloat with the readers. But I think finding it, maybe even more so for yourself, trying to figure out what your brand is,
Yeah.
who is your audience, maybe who's your audience, who are you writing to, who's reading you, those types of things. So I think it's important, but I also hesitate because I know that there's a lot of people who buck that system to a certain extent and are doing just fine. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I don't know. I maybe back in the day, before digital became so
Hmm.
prevalent, it was more important to be branded. You're a historical author,
Yeah.
you're a romantic suspense
Right.
author, you're a paranormal author, that sort of thing. But now I feel rules are just a little bit squishy now. I
Yeah.
feel rules are squishier now than they used to
Yeah.
be.
But we have the ability to blend those genres and subgenres that we love so much.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so I think yeah, I think you're right. But I do think that there is a certain thing that you should have branding too, but that's a long discussion.
Yeah, maybe in the romance community, if you are if you write a little bit more sexy, you'll want to
Yeah,
make sure people know that. If you
right.
write closed door, maybe you want folks to know that.
Yeah.
So that might be a branding bit that you'll
Yeah.
want to get out there on your website and that sort of thing.
Any advice for aspiring authors out there?
Be persistent. You're not going to get published if you don't keep at it.
Yeah.
And don't let one failure, rejection, disappointment keep you from continuing to write. I think we'll all know in our heart if there comes a time, that you need to put up your pen.
Yeah.
But when you're new and you're trying to figure it out, be persistent. Try to network with other authors,
Yes.
get your community, get your
Yes.
people around you, learn your craft, go to try to go to some workshops, read some craft
Mhm.
books, listen to craft books, whatever it is. That's listening sometimes can be help break through some of that nonfiction jargon that can
Yeah.
put you to sleep at night. So yeah, I think those are probably the biggest bits of information. It's like
Yeah.
just keep trying.
Yeah, I agree. Great advice. And real quick, since we're almost down to 5 minutes, let's tell us really quick where we can find you and your books online.
Probably the best place to go to find me is start at my website. It's just tracydevlyn.com. I have most of my social media links there. I think it's updated. I don't know if I've got Blue Sky and Threads on there, to be honest with you. So I'm at all the places really,
Okay.
except for TikTok. I'm not on TikTok yet. I haven't figured out that platform,
Yeah.
but I'm on all the other places.
Awesome. And all of these links will be in the description of the
Oh,
podcast.
thank
So
you. Okay,
anyone
great.
they can connect with you online and check out your website and your books. So thank you so much, Tracy, for joining us today. And I
Yeah.
loved having you. I appreciate it. Be sure to check out her newest release, Endgame. And thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, and share your favorite part of the conversation. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. I've got more amazing authors and stories coming your way, so stay tuned. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep writing, and I'll see you miles beyond the page. Thanks for joining me on Miles Beyond the Page. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. If you're an author and want to be a guest, visit michellemiles.net/podcast to apply. Keep writing, keep dreaming, and I'll see you next time.